Hey guys, what's up? It's Jesse here. And someone recently asked me, what are all the use cases for ChatGPT? And specifically, what are all the use cases I can come up with in terms of GPTs, specific GPTs? So if you look at my left side of the screen, I'm going to show you 10 GPTs that we have configured in our business right now. And I'm going to open up and showcase a few of those. So hopefully this helps you with getting inspired to see how much ChatGPT and specifically GPTs can help you get better at lead gen on LinkedIn, because that's all what we do. So let's get started with the first GPT. Is what we call the emotions GPT. So as a copywriter, as a marketer, I'm sure you know that it's really important for you to tap into core emotions of your target audience to make them feel something and to compel them into action. So what we do with this GPT is it gives us a list of 5 core emotions: fears, objections, desires, obstacles, and frustration of my target audience. And it just gives them in such a way that I can just pick one and create content around it, instead of me just thinking, okay, what are the core emotions of my target audience? So as you can see, it's all showcased in a way that it can be a quote or a paraphrase of the target audience. And I often use this in my content. Like, I love using frustrations. For example, we run a program, authority figures program, and I know that some of the frustrations prospects or clients have is that previous programs didn't offer tailored support I need. So I can then craft a post around that, tackling that frustration. So as you can see, as a copywriter, as a marketer, it's very important to tap into these core emotions and just figuring out, okay, how can I leverage ChatGPT to get these for me? As you can see, I got 25 examples here. Perfect start to start creating content, right? So let me go over a second GPT. So one of my favorite ones is a process breakdown post on LinkedIn. It's kind of like an overlap between an educational post where I educate my audience on a specific topic and an authority building piece. An authority building piece is where I establish myself as an authority to help the audience or the reader to solve a problem they have. Again, I press click start, and then the GPT is configured in a way to just ask me a few questions so I can give input, and then the GPT goes on its own. So already prepared something on the other side of my screen. So I want the GPT to write a post about how most service providers on LinkedIn have a lot of experience and a solid track record, but are unable to showcase this to their audience. A little bit of context: as a result of this inability, they either post mediocre content that doesn't get any leads, or they don't post at all. And then something that we've pre-configured is the tone of voice, because tone of voice is something, it's nuanced. Like, how do you write? How do you say certain things? What words do you use? What words you don't use? How do you like your sentence to be structured, etc., etc. So this is something that we've implemented in the settings of the GPT, so we don't have to always come up with that. And then I'm just going to press enter and see what the GPT comes up with. So it starts writing content for me based on my preference and input. It comes with a hook, a body, add social proof. And this is important to understand. This is social proof that's actually coming from the document that we loaded into the GPT, coming from our own case studies. So Tobias is one of our previous clients. He worked with us, and with our system, he closed over $50,000 in contracts in less than 20 weeks, spending less than 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn. Like I said, the process breakdown is kind of education for the audience. Call to action. As you can see, in just a matter of seconds, we went from an idea to a post. Of course, I have to remove these, but for the sake of clarity, I kind of let it in. As you can see here, despite having a wealth of experience and solid track record, many service providers either provide mediocre content, yada yada. Perfect. So that's the process breakdown GPT. So let me now go to one of our recent ones, which is about DMing. So most people on LinkedIn, they use DMs or direct messages to either advance a conversation or to book calls or to even close clients. So what we've done, we have a specific DM protocol that we use in our business. We trained GPT on this protocol. So the GPT knows, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, etc., etc. So what we can now do is we can start a prompt and we can load in a conversation with a prospect. And then what it does, it gives us where in the process we are and what the next steps should be in terms of sending the message. So again, I've prepared this on the other side of my screen. So this is a sanitized conversation between me and a prospect. So for privacy reason, I took out the name. So I'm just gonna press enter. And then the GPT has to think a little bit. As you can see, based on the conversation, it seems we're at step 3, learn about their pains and efforts. Now come up with 5 variations of unique and specific messages to advance to the next step. So as you can see now, based on this conversation, so it's the lead's coming in, I give a reply here, the lead is giving me an answer. So instead of me having to think through their response and coming up with an answer, I can just simply copy and paste this into the GPT. And as you can see, I have 5 variations of messages I can send to move this prospect from step 3 in our process to step 4 in our process. So as you can see, I can co-create DM conversations in order to move a prospect further down the pipeline with ChatGPT. Plus, these are all in my tone of voice. Plus, they're also mimicking the tone of voice of the lead because the GPT is configured in such a way. So again, this is a very smart way of like working together with AI and working together with ChatGPT when you're stuck on, okay, you're having this conversation with a prospect, you don't know how to move this conversation forward. So a DM GPT in that case can be super, super useful. Let's continue to the next one. So let's see a comment GPT, because commenting on LinkedIn is of course very, very common. So what we can do here, we can get started. And then I have a post here that I prepared. Otherwise I have to go to the LinkedIn feed. So I'm gonna save you that time. So in this specific GPT, I need to copy and paste the post from LinkedIn, and I need to add some form of context what I want the comment to be about. So in this case, I found a post on LinkedIn that talks about the 3 types of LinkedIn content that always gets leads, yada yada. And then my idea was like, okay, add an additional 3rd and 4th types to the post and add specific examples. And then I can just press enter, and then GPT goes takes a second and gives me, based on some of the content structures I've loaded in, it comes up with a comment. So great insights, insert author's name, also suggesting education engagement post, ask your audience with examples, and a user generated content post. Cool. So this could be a comment I can then place on this other author's post. So instead of me coming up with comments, I can co-create again with ChatGPT to come up with comments in my tone of voice based on a post that someone else has written with my comment idea. So as you can see, it will be very specific, and we very like focused on this post. So that's another GPT that we can then use. So let me see, what else do we got? Let's say a top of funnel GPT. So this is a uniquely trained AI as well to write mostly educational content for LinkedIn. So click here to start, and then you will see it's a similar setup to the process breakdown GPT. So now, in order to give you a different, like a similar overview, I'm just going to use the same idea as I did for the process breakdown GPT. So then you can see that with the same input, the post output will be different. As you can see, this is a top of funnel educational post based on this idea. And as you can see, it follows a listicle, it's like a summation structure. So it has some personal element in here, like I've been here too, because the GPT knows my personal story about how I struggled with LinkedIn content early on, and I overcame that by just studying others in front of me, etc., etc. Many service providers have impressive track records. Don't let your expertise remain hidden. So boom. So from again, in a few seconds, we went from an idea to a educational top of funnel LinkedIn content post. So that's that. And then let's see, carousels. The carousels are still pretty trendy on LinkedIn, right? The pitch decks, the slide decks, whatever people call it, the PDFs. And getting the copy right is often quite a bit of work. So what we've done, we've trained and created a carousel GPT that, again, it asks us for some information and then we give that information and GPT just gives us a copy for a carousel. So if you're, for example, working with a designer, you can use a GPT like this to get the copy ready, even by slide. I will show you in a second, and then you can ship that to your designer. Designer works on it, and then of course you have a very seamless creation process of carousels for LinkedIn. So let's say the context type, I have to choose from these, like basics from a topic, problem around the topic. Let's say in this case, I'm gonna go for problem around the topic. So I added here the core concept. I want to use the same ideas that I had before. So the most service providers on LinkedIn have a lot of experience and solid track record, but are unable to showcase this to their audience. It's the exact same idea that as we had with the previous two posts. And then here, the context. As a result of this inability, they either post mediocre content that doesn't get leads or they don't post at all. Press enter. And then what we're going to see is that the GPT is thinking, and like I said, it just gives us exactly the slides to create the carousel. So how I have service providers showcase their expertise and generate leads. Transform you is like the title, subtitle. It even gives it like I said, for a designer to work with, it gives hints on, okay, for a visual, add this. Step 2, create the context. So the GPT knows how to structure a carousel because it's trained on a specific structure for carousels. So we start with the cover, we start with the context, or then we go to the context, we go to the breakdowns, etc., etc. So slide 2 is, okay, this is the title slide, this is slide 1. Many service providers, so it introduces the problem, like the context, the impact of invisibility, so it kind of like agitates the pain. It creates a breakdown. So, okay, here's how you can start solving this problem. Creating, crafting content, consistency, leveraging AI tools. And then it adds even some case studies of our specific business. So like I said, Tobias, I think that we saw this one before and just generated many leads and booked calls with just one post. So here, increased leads, testimonials, some other, link, Beatrice here, Nicholas here. Again, this is all specific words from the clients we worked with. Long-term impact, recap slides. You always see with a carousel that there is like a recap slide. And last but not least, a call to action slide. So if you're familiar with like the carousels on LinkedIn, you see that they often follow the same structure. And here you go. This is very simple. Like it has slide by slide, the text and a note or a hint on the visual. And that's how simple this can be. Well, I've showed you 5 or 6 of these GPTs. Like in our program, Authority Figures program, we teach our students, we teach our clients how to leverage ChatGPT specifically for LinkedIn to generate high quality leads. So the promise we make is that in 60 days, you have a system that gets you 3 to 5 warm leads per week using ChatGPT. So these GPTs that you see here, you're all going to build them. So if that's something you're interested in, send me a message or click on the link under this video, and then we can take it from there. If you found this helpful, share a like, share a comment, share the video. And yeah, with that being said, I'll chat to you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.